Basically, honestly, I don't really like Pennsylvania. I just don't like it. I mean, I lived here my entire life, and I found internal happiness. I've found my calling as far as careers go, and I've straight up every single reason to continue to live here. And I've definitely spent more time in Pennsylvania than probably at least 97% of people my age who live in Pennsylvania. But you know, Pennsylvania is not the only state for me. I feel like Georgia's better, even though I've never been there. Also, I'm straight, but I really like gay people. I don't know why. I just think they're better people to be around. Also, my favorite season is actually either fall or winter. It depends on how my year's going. My internal body temperature is not 20 degrees, so I heard it's kind of warm down there. I'm just kidding. About a lot of that. But not all of it as far as explanations go. So here are the real reasons I'm moving to Atlanta. I've kept this video from you guys for long enough, and honestly, if you're watching this, I am definitely in Atlanta already, and probably have been for at least a good 20 to 30 days. If not, I might be back in Westchester, maybe in a hospital, I might be in Oregon. I don't know. But if you check out my Instagram story, well, you will. Number one is career. There's an A&R manager and marketer out there. I'm not gonna drop his name yet for confidential purposes. I don't know, I'm not trying to drop names and shit at the moment, even about my team. But he's been listening to my music and following my content for almost 2 years now. He's like, I'm gonna drive up to Westchester from Atlanta and meet you. I was like, okay. But just recently, he told me he was actually going to do it. He was like, I'm gonna drive to Westchester from New York, right? He had a video and/or interview for one of his artists, so he could actually go to my apartment and meet me before he drove all the way back to Atlanta. I was like, okay, why not? He basically talked to me between 3 and 5 hours straight about why I should move to Atlanta. And there was a point where I was like, dude, this needs to happen. It has to happen. Because I was like, dude, what's your ultimate goal here? And I've talked to him so much about this since this conversation, and I've really tried to pry it out of him, but I am still trying to figure out his exact goal. So he was like, my goal is your goal. I started talking about my goal, and we got very in depth about it, and for a while, he's been talking about how he kind of sees the future when he looks at me, and what I'm doing that other producers and artists are not. He sees my vision and shit. He was like, okay, I can definitely work with that. And I was like, dude, I'm not moving down there if we're not really gonna make this shit happen. Really. He said, in Atlanta, I'm gonna feel like the lost one who found his way home. Not just because of how people treat me, but if you think about it, everything big that happens in hip-hop, it starts in Atlanta. A lot of big trends and shit happen there, and then they begin to spread across the planet, I guess. And with connections especially, it's gonna be so easy to shoot my foot into doors, left, right, up, down, fucking inward, outward, inside out. I don't know how many are there. A lot of different directions, diagonal. I don't know. 360, 180. Number two is location. By the way, I literally got back today from a 2-week trip to Atlanta because with my parents and shit, they were like, I think it'd be a good idea for you to fucking spend 2 weeks there to see that it's not literally death in a town and pretty much hell. Obviously, I decided I'm gonna move here. But number two is location. I spent 4 hours the next night watching videos about Atlanta and what it's like to live there and why you should, why you shouldn't. I took notes, everything surrounding the whole shit, and I found out that not surprisingly, if you have a skill that is in high demand, especially in entertainment, like music, especially hip-hop music, you are in a really good position, especially if you're unique. And I am extremely confident in my work. As far as influencing the future of today's culture, with my research, I am convinced that it would be stupid for me to not move to Atlanta, which I'm going to talk about later in the video. I have been in Westchester for 2 years, and I feel like a caged animal. I love it here too. Dude, there are so many animals who love being caged. But in Atlanta, with the opportunity, I'll feel like I'm in a jungle. People are like, bro, what if you die or something? What if you're not prepared? Look, if that happens, at least it'll happen while I'm on my path toward my purpose. Also, sometimes you just gotta take risks despite fear, which I'm probably gonna talk about later in the video as well. I'm also trying to conduct an experiment of how much location affects my career as an artist and or producer, because I have an entire video talking about that, and I really wanted to kind of form a hypothesis out of it and be like, how true is this? And really put that shit to the test. Because I talked about the importance of location based on my research and where I've been so far, and I've learned basically that it's not as important now than it was before, more, and it will become less important over time, because you can kind of extrapolate that. However, with things like studio time, meetings, and actual experiences with people that they psychologically solidify communication. Like on the phone, you can understand tone, but not body language. On FaceTime, you know, there's the face generally, but not much else. The communication is not as wholesome. It's not as complete. So being able to get a full grip on the context of any given situation will be very beneficial to the building of relationships in business, and I think it'll be a lot easier and faster for me to make money. I'm much more likely to make it in a location full of hungry, driven rappers than a place full of... I mean, Westchester is not a music town, and I could have moved to Philly, but it's crowded as fuck compared to Atlanta, and it's far more densely populated, and I don't really fuck with that. I know there are other differences, but that's my main objection, at least. Despite what I've heard about Atlanta traffic, I have audiobooks on audiobooks to listen to so long as my engine can be fixed without auto companies turning off the light and saying, "It'll be fine," like they've been doing for the past 8 fucking months. I'll be fine myself. Philly's not as central to the culture anyway, I don't think. But I want to test the power of location to really solidify my point in that video. Number 3 is Mastermind. Now, in my favorite book, which I fucking talk about all the time in my channel, there's like a chapter or principle based entirely on a concept called the mastermind. What is the mastermind? In the book, the author Napoleon Hill describes the principle of the coordination of knowledge and effort between 2 or more people who work toward a definite purpose in the spirit of harmony. No 2 minds ever come together without thereby creating a third, invisible, intangible force, which may be likened to a third mind, also known as the mastermind. The one sentence about the 2 minds, despite my issues working with people who are not just me, over the years caught my attention to the point where I was like, dude, I listen to this full audiobook between 1 and 5 times a month. I need to apply shit like this at some point and see what happens, because it has to work. Like, I'm going to trust this book, and initially, at least, that's what I'm willing to bet on. Because if I'm always talking about how to get more out of life, and music and business and all that other stuff, I need to practice what I preach. What areas, what bases am I not covering? Why wouldn't I do that? I don't like when other people refuse to practice what they preach, so I was like, what the fuck is this third mind? I gotta experience it. But number 4 is brand expansion. I want to expand my brand as a producer and artist. As an artist, I want more industry experience. I want to perform more, because let's face it, Westchester is not a good place to perform compared to Atlanta. I just want to extend my reach to people who are willing to consume what I put out and see what happens. Like, dude, I can't just stay in this cage. I gotta roam free. I gotta do my thing in an environment where I feel more accepted artistically, and where I can learn more about trends that are soon to hit the charts and shit, so I can exploit them in my own ways and experiment with them. I gotta do interviews with people of influence, because anyone who watches my channel knows I'm gonna explode during interviews. Any given question can set me off like fucking a bomb. When they ask that one question, like, yeah, I was watching your YouTube videos and you were talking about the direction of modern culture. Do you care to elaborate on that? Like, what's that even mean? And then they got me started. And then I start talking about all the bullshit in the world and how it can be fixed, and all the proactive approaches that the people can take to make such a thing happen. If none of that happens, like I said, I'll talk about it later in the video. Number 5 is environment. Now, I actually do love fall and winter. They definitely are my favorite times of year. By the way, if you guys want, pause the video and type your favorite season in the comments. But okay, those are my favorite seasons, and Atlanta in the South is fucking warm. I think that nonetheless, I can get down with that. There's something about nostalgia that when I recall the past, especially as I write lyrics, a lot of beautiful things come to mind. And I get a lot of inspiration from what I have and what I want, but also a lack of what I used to have, especially if I look back at it in a positive light. Like, yo, I may not have this, but it was pretty fucking cool, and I appreciate the fact that at some point, it was an abundant factor of my everyday life. So there's that, but I also love nature. Like a ton. And in Westchester, I pretty much spend fucking all my time in a fucking room creating content. In Atlanta, I'll be able to go to parks and shit for inspiration. I'm at a point where the smallest things inspire me like crazy. So the bigger things are like explosive external hunches, and they spawn crazy ideas that smaller things normally don't. Because nature emulates the building, the destruction, the ways, the flow of the universe. And nature, I always try to look at them with an attitude of humility, because I know that none of us really know shit compared to nature itself. Number 6 is self-growth. I mean, this is my reason for pretty much like literally anything that I do. But I'll be really able to live life in a situation information that seriously pushes me out of my comfort zone. There are going to be so many new processes, so many little drills, protocols that I have never fully experienced before. But because of all the research I've done on all these different things, it will be really interesting for me to experience it all. Like, I'm putting a lot of different things that I've learned through like books and whatever in the last like couple years to the test. And that's what I think I need. Making mistakes, learning things, getting firsthand industry experience. It's going to be really fun. I want to do it for the fight, the upward battle. I'm looking at the top of the mountain like, dude, that climb is ecstasy to me. I cannot get enough of it. But that alone is enough for me. That alone is enough to appreciate. I'm gonna have so many fucking things to say. I already do in these videos, but I swear my content, even with the output, if it slows down, which I seriously refuse to let happen, the content will be much higher quality in terms of substance of what I have to say, because much more of my knowledge will have been contextually applied to where I see the other side of just the theory of things I would otherwise just spend my time researching. I heard somewhere that knowledge without experience is philosophy, and experience without knowledge is ignorance. So I don't know about you, but I want knowledge and experience. I don't want boardroom ideology and philosophy. I feel like I've had too much of just that. I want something more. I want street smarts, is what they called it when I was there. Speaking of which, number 7, it scares me. I will be putting myself in places that scare the shit out of me. This is probably the core reason, aside from my actual goal in life, what I'm trying to do, which is recalibrate the direction of modern culture. This place is what, I think like 790 miles away from Westchester, Pennsylvania. That's nowhere near my family, nowhere near where I was born, raised. It pushes me to risk being judged, risk being shamed, risk being further misunderstood by people who aren't used to my view of life and what it's meant to be for us. Because who am I to say what is good and what is bad? You know, I don't have that much credibility anyway. But everyone must count for something, right? Because isn't everything small just everything big in disguise? Like, just everything big is just very low-key, like everything small. My subscriber count is only like 240 at the making of this video, but it'll continue to grow because I know that whatever I'm trying to accomplish is going to happen. Like, it is going to happen. Like, it will. I strive to be as persistent as, for example, the evolution of technology, the ways of time, and the nature of the universe. And I'm not capping, like, these are a few of my favorite things. In Think and Grow Rich, there are 6 basic fears holding people back from success. This book is basically like a mini Bible on how to create success. And it's not like the other ones. Like, it is like the premier book of this shit. Like, if you look up success books or self-development books, it's in the top 3 of every single fucking list. Because, I mean, I guess you would have to get it yourself to find out, or just keep watching my videos, because I'm always talking about it anyway. But one of the 6 basic fears, I suffer mainly from 2 of them. One I'll talk about in other videos. That shit is fucking deep. The other one is the fear of judgment. The fear of being judged and criticized by others. Now, there are so many ways in which that does not apply to me, but there are so many ways in which it does. Like, an overwhelming amount. And this is a place where that's inevitably going to happen to some extent. For whatever fucking reason, my brand tends to intimidate, piss off, and or bore particular people, which is fine. But when they express that, I can say whatever I want. But deep down, I feel like it's always gonna hurt just a little. Because you can't like replace your like negative self-talk. You could just put tons of layers over it to the point where like it's impossible to reach. But I think that's like, I don't know, I think that's a theory. I don't know. I don't remember. But the mentality toward fixing this, let alone adapting to it per se, is the idea that I can entirely take control of my own thoughts. Entirely. That's empowering, right? Don't you feel powerful knowing you have the ability to take full control over your thoughts? Entire control. When I heard that in the book, I was like, whoa, these principles are sound. They are as tried and true as all the shit. Today, if you look at the richest people, the happiest people, the people who got what they want and continue to flourish as a result of entertainment, you would swear these people literally do think and grow rich, collectively and individually. I want to be among them, so I am willing to bet strongly on these principles. Anyone trying to talk to me about success or life or anything will find it much easier if they have read or listened to the book at least once. The manager I'm living with agreed. I made him do this. I was like, dude, you need to do this. To listen to the audiobook somewhere on the way to pick me up to go to Atlanta. Like, I'm not going there and living with him unless this person fucking listens to the book. And he agreed. There's a circle of people who we will require to listen to it if they want to work with us long term. I had a conversation with my friend when I was in Atlanta, but my friend was saying, are you still moving to Atlanta? I was like, yep. He's like, Dub C is losing a legend. I was like, I don't want want to move. I'm honestly pretty scared. Like, I don't want to. But I'm gonna do it anyway. Because I want to achieve my goals. More than anything else. Anything else. And if I fail, or even die, or something, maybe people are gonna spread my message, and the world will know about it 200 to 500 years later, or something. And I'm gonna talk about Westchester in my music later. Like, Westchester's not losing a legend. Like, moving to Atlanta doesn't really even inspire me that much. The only thing that inspires me more than anything else is the end game, and who I'm gonna become in the process. All those little changes. I have so many reasons not to move to Atlanta. It's crazy. But like, it needs to happen. It's actually a stupid thing for me not to move there. But okay, as far as my experience there and what I have to say about it, I was meditating the other night and came to the conclusion that the difference between living in Westchester and living in Atlanta is similar to the difference between investing in a bond and investing in a stock. Like, they are both going up because, I mean, I'm a robot and I'm basically fucking, like, indestructible. But because of the environments and their influence on what I ultimately want out of the world and the roles they play in those wants, one of them is stable, one of them is very risky, very shaky. But I talked to my dad about it and he thinks it's a good time to take risks. Like, I'm 21, I have time. So yeah, like, I'm basically an invincible Megatron, Terminator, but at the same time, what may get in the way could be something that causes drawbacks, perhaps. Like the ones that lead to such volatility. It's not an active stream of money. For instance, it's how they say, how I work my move. Like, so little planning went into really anything, but I got a lot out of this trip. Like, not a constant stream of the same activity every day. The same time, go to the same shit at the same place. Which is my personality likes doing that, but this isn't about what I like. It's not about what I want at this point in my life. It's about what I need to get to the point where the world is. So that's why I'm moving to Atlanta. Have you guys ever been to Atlanta? Do you live there? How was it? How do you feel about it? Do you guys have any stories about moving one place to another? What were the intentions behind it? How did it pan out? I'd love to hear what you guys have to say in the comments below. If you have anything you want me to talk about in future videos, please let me know in the comments as well, and I'll give you a shout out if and when I use them. If you have any questions, please feel free to hit me up. There are links at the bottom of the description of all my social media. Also at the bottom of the description, there are links to my new production kits where you can find all the hardware and software that I use to make music. If you buy any, I get commission, which helps me build this channel and keep making these videos for you guys. I made all the beats in this video too. If you want to use them, you can find links to each one in the description from first to last, or at samuel.earth/beats. Make sure to leave a like if you like it, subscribe if you haven't already. If you could turn on that little bell to receive notification every time I drop a new video, that would mean the world to me. Thank you guys so much for watching. You can find me everywhere, and I will see you then.